Hi, I'm Lisa Templeton from LM Cake Design and Denhead Desserts. I'm also an ambassador for Bakel's Peonies. I'd like to show you today how I make some of my petals. First of all, I need a sturdy bag, like a snap lock bag or a freezer bag. Now open it up and just pull it down each side. Once you've opened it up, you just need to tear it on the line at the bottom. Now, I always tell my students to use the clear side. Don't use the side that's got writing on it because it may confuse you at the start. Your icing should have been kneaded prior to this so that it's nice and kneaded and ready to go. The icing is Peonies with Tylose and Crisco. Now what I do is, once I've kneaded it nicely and I've got it nice and gummy and it's at the right consistency for freeform, I take a wee bit of Peonies and I'll show you how to make a basic heart-shaped rose petal. So I'm just put it into a wee ball using one finger. I'm making a point at one end. That just helps to shape the petal before you even put it down. Now I place the top of the plastic bag over and then push down. It's just got a tiny bit of something there, so I'll take it out. Working with white, be careful not to wear anything black so you don't get any black little bits of fluff in it. So I pull down at the bottom with my thumb and then I'm pushing it out the petal with the sides of my fingers. Note that I'm not using the tips of my fingers. If you're using the tips of the fingers, they get very, very sore. Now I'm just pushing it up on either side. I'm keeping lots of body in the petal and not making it too thin in the centre. The thin bit that I need is the end bit. So thin out the edges and the ends. And then veining, you can put your own veins in without a veiner using the side of your thumbnail. Just be gentle so that you don't go through the plastic bag and you don't mark your bag too much. Then I just thin out the tips, and if it's a bit too wide at the end here, I feel like the end of it's a wee bit too wide, so I'm just going to pop it back in and just gently closing up that heart shape a wee bit. Always lift your petal from the base, never from the thin tip. The base is the thickest part of the petal, or it should be. And I'll put that aside. The next petal I'd like to show you is one of my Peony Petals. Now, if you do my tutorial that is coming out soon on Peonies, or the one that's on my Facebook page now, you'll notice that peonies have lots and lots of different shaped petals. So this is just one of a range of petals that you can make. For this one, I'm going to push up one side, and I'm just thinning out those edges, but very careful not to take away too much from the body of it so that it does have some strength in it. Pull down with your thumb, push up the other side just to make it a wee point. And then using your thumb, thin out that bit. Often you'll see little fat bits in sugar flowers at the top of the flower. Makes the flower look very unnatural. To get a much more natural look, you want to have a nice thin tips, which you just thin out those edges. Now vein your petal. And then I'm going to have a look at it. And I just want to close off that heart a wee bit on the edges there. And there we have our peony petal. So it's very similar to the rose, but it's a good shape to learn how to make. And I'm just going to put that aside, and I'm going to make you two different dahlia petals. So the first one I'll make quite large, just so that you get an idea. You would only use large ones for the outer petals. The inner petals can be quite tiny. So I'm just rolling it into a sausage. I'm going to pop that down using my plastic bag. I'm going to push it up And with my thumb, I'm going to pull down the bottom bit again. So once I've thinned out the tips, using my thumb, I'm pulling down the bottom bit and just thinning out those edges a wee bit further down than I do with the peony and the rose, because these are longer, thinner petals. And this one's got a round shaped end. Study flowers as much as you possibly can. Popping the long straight veins in that most dahlias have. Poppy veiners are fine to use on dahlias as well. Then I'm going to take that petal, once I'm happy with the shape of it and the thinness. Now I've just accidentally misshapen that one, so it's okay, because with the plastic bag you can just redo it again really quickly. You can either screw it up or just change the shape again. And I notice now that I've got a wee bit in the side. So we've got this nice rounded shape now with the veins in. The next step for the dahlia petal, we're going to just form it into the right shape. So we fold over one side at the bottom, and then fold over the other side at the bottom. I'll tweak it a wee bit in the middle there to make it a wee bit more narrow. Just folding that bit over a wee bit, and that gives me an outer dahlia petal. Now the next one I'm going to make is a slightly pointier one. Some dahlia petals are extremely pointy. Some are very rounded. Some have got very short petals. Some have got very long petals. So it really depends on what dahlia you're making. This one here, I want it to make slightly pointier. So I'm going to use the end that was the point and just push that out gently, and then make sure that I thin those sides. Once again, I'm veining it with my thumb. Do get a new plastic bag if you mark the bag that you're using at the time, because you don't want the marks from other flowers that you've made coming through onto your petals. Gently pick it up from the bottom, always the bottom, never the top. And folding over one side and the other side. And this is giving you a basic, more pointy little dahlia petal. And finally, as I have the free hydrangea freeform tutorial out, I wanted to show you how to make freeform hydrangeas as well. So I'm just showing you the petals. To see the rest of the hydrangea tutorial would need to go to my Facebook page, LM Cake Design. Pop it down with a point at each end, push it, and just pull down with your thumb, up with your finger, so you're getting a wee bit of a point at the top and the bottom. Then we're rounding it out on either side. Once we've got the shape, then we want to thin those edges out. Just using the side of my finger, I'm thinning those edges out. Now this is a large hydrangea petal. Generally, a lot of them would be a lot smaller than this, but this makes it a lot easier for you to see how it's actually formed. Once again, lifting from the bottom, and there you have the shape of your hydrangea petal. Finally, I wanted to show you a wee bit of how I form petals. Now, you can form petals on all sorts of things, but I often use antique spoons. The reason I like antique spoons is because they're very deep, and they give that nice deep shape. Then I'm curving the end. Some people have these sets of spoons that they stick on a board, plastic spoons and stuff, but for me, I prefer to use all different things to get the correct shape rather than just one set of something. The antique spoons are great, and the dessert spoons as well for peonies. So for the peony, I'm doing the opposite of what I did to the rose. What I'm doing is I'm going to pop it on the inside and get it nicely set in. Now you see I'm cupping my hand around to make the petal come inwards instead of outwards. Some roses even have petals that come inwards as well. So This is quite a good method for both peonies and roses. Depending on the shape that you need, you can use dessert spoons or soup spoons. If you're making tiny roses, you're using tiny spoons. If you're making big roses, you're using big spoons. So there's how I make my petals. And if you'd like to see how I make my flowers and how I put these all together to make roses, peonies, hydrangeas and dahlias, please pop over to LM Cake Design. Thank you for watching.